to fight
debate.
about. This is
Yeah, no,
obvious
he's
that
always
they need to advertise as they make more cars, and I think now Elon sees as he keeps lowering the price and messing with it, he needs to advertise to tell other people that he's selling EVs that are great, because not everybody's on YouTube watching our channel learning about how great Tesla is. We know that he's great, but this dude, I talk to people all day asking me the dumbest questions about Tesla all day long. How do you charge this thing? What do you get? Every half an hour, do you got to go to the gas station? Like, people don't
right. So
know
the last
anything
couple,
about
the
EVs.
last, so the last couple of cars you bought was because you saw an ad between us after Seinfeld for like a Hyundai Elantra that made you
What's
spend
funny is
$30,000 on
basically,
a car?
yes, I had a Toyota
No, I don't think so.
RAV4. I
Yeah.
had a Toyota RAV4. I knew about it because, yes, Toyota has commercials, and we know Toyota's a good brand. And yes, they put out content that I can see Toyota commercials, and I know Toyota RAV4s exist. Absolutely. In fact, it's so
Well,
funny because there's a person who talked to me about. She's like, "What car?" Because I'm on a production, and I have to park the car, obviously, because they pay for parking. We have to have certain things in front of houses, whatever. She goes, "What car do you have?" I go, "It's a Model Y." She's like, "Model I?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Have you never heard of Tesla before?" She's like, "Yeah, I've heard of Tesla, but I didn't know." She doesn't know any of the cars, so they don't have enough presence.
Most people don't know what most models of most car companies are. What?
Okay.
Name me five models of
What's
a
the most
VW.
popular?
No, but I'm
I'm just
asking.
saying,
I'm
what's
wait.
the
I'm
most?
asking a question. I'm asking a question. Name
You
me
should be
five.
asking us.
Name
You should
me
be asking
five.
us, like me and Amit, because we're like like, first of all, you guys have Teslas, so whatever questions you have, you should probably ask me and Amit because we're prospective buyers of new
No,
cars.
but my point is, for example, cable television right now, the amount of people that have cable television are at 1992 levels. It's dropped at 58%. So you're talking about advertising to a declining
But
market.
they have
Most of it.
money. They have money. They're older. They have disposable income, which is why they're still a cable advertising ecosystem.
Oh, sure. And I do believe that the fact that they don't advertise is part of the reason why you get the FUD, right? Because if Ford's putting commercials on, on CNN or Don Lemon, they're not going to want to, first of all, they're not going to want to talk shit about Ford, right? Just like they're not going to talk shit about Pfizer, but they're also going to try to downplay the
You're switching the topic. The point is advertising works. And if Elon advertises, it'll work. They will sell more cars. Bottom line.
Well,
so Carlos, look, Carlos is not alone. There's a lot of people in the Tesla community who have said that. I mean, far as a lot of people. I was
just going to show you a picture. I have sold personally 7 Teslas. Okay,
you're part of the advertising,
and it's not from advertising. It's from having the vehicle and people seeing it. Referral is word of mouth. And I worked in advertising. This is why I think it's so funny how he comes at me. I worked in advertising. I worked in 2 ad agencies. Okay.
But so here's the point. Here's the point. Do you think you and the other Tesla bulls in the community that were against advertising still have a point? Or like, do you think this is going to fail if they advertise? Because Elon, by the way, he has no idea. He said in the CNBC interview, he was like, I just said yes to this. I have no idea what advertising will look like. So it could fail, right? It could not work.
It's not that it could fail. I think they've done I think they've calculated the risk reward for advertising and have deemed that word of mouth is the way to build a brand in their opinion.
Well, Carlos, just coming from a prospective buyer, the one thing, and I think Fuddbucker put it very, very accurately. Fuddbucker put Fuddbucker
every time I just
can anyone take this podcast seriously? We say this every day.
I love that.
Like, imagine CNBC, so they're watching us. They want a new show, and they're like, "Okay, I heard about these finance junkies." And then Fuddbucker, okay, and Licky Pussy,
give these guys a deal,
Licker, or whatever his name is.
You can't give them a deal.
It's Lussie Picker.
Lussie Picker. Yes. Sorry. Lussie.
Okay, so
Lussie's an Indian drink. Chris, you've had one before, right?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Bingledary to come into the chat.
All 3 of them should start a podcast.
Someone's gonna take that name.
So Carlos, this is my main problem with Tesla right now is that I didn't even I still think of Tesla as this really expensive car. Like anytime I think about it, like I was talking to my wife, we saw a couple of Teslas on our way back from dinner, right? And the car was amazing. I said, babe, this is probably the next car that we're going to get, And she's like, well, yeah, how expensive is it? And I'm like trying to explain to her, like, no, once you really factor in like the tax credits and everything, it's actually not that bad, and then you charge at home, it's like $2 versus going and paying for your goddamn Lexus, which is like $50 at the pump. So if you think about it over the course of the life, it's going to be cheaper if we just get the electric car. But the thing is, these are the things that I had to explain to her. Now, that only reason why I was able to actually pump out that information is because I did the fundamental research, so I know what it is, right? Because I'm actually interested in buying the car. If this was one of those things that was put out there, just saying like, hey, listen, new Tesla Model something now at X, Y, and Z price, that alone would be a great selling point.
Okay, here's 2 counterpoints to that. Okay, number one, they are already making and selling every vehicle that they make. They cannot make any more vehicles, man. They're having to get into lithium mining.
That is a good point.
I just want to make this point really clear. Okay, they've done the math. Why are you advertising to people, number one, that they can't afford the vehicle at the time? So no amount of advertising is going to make someone be able to afford a vehicle that they can't afford. Number one. Number two, they can't make any more vehicles, and they know their backlog better than us. So they're going to spend money advertising, which will eventually trickle down into the sticker price of the car. But what they're trying to do is bring the price down. So now they have to account for that because margins are everything, right? So they're going to have to increase the price of the car in order to account for that, so it doesn't hit their margins. But then people are going to have extended wait times. This is one of the reasons why they raised the price so much. People complaining now that the prices have dropped. The prices were artificially higher because they could not make vehicles fast enough. So I believe as they get the prices down, or as they increase production where they can have that extra capacity, then advertising makes sense. The other point I'll make is how much money is GM and Ford and all these other companies spending on advertising, and how many vehicles are they selling? Advertising doesn't necessarily translate into a sale.
But their products are kind of shitty compared to Tesla. Like Tesla's good product.
But if you watch literally every time I click on one of your videos, Amit, I get this Hyundai Ioniq commercial.
Shout out to Hyundai. They're paying the bills here,
baby. And it's
to Google.
And it's like, and it says like, oh, 3 things that this car does that the Model 3 doesn't. But if you just look at the numbers,
okay, I think you're ignoring
numbers and look at how much.
Let me respond before you go to before you get to GM. Let me respond to your advertising doesn't work thing and the fact that why Elon is changing his mind.
I did not say advertising didn't work.
Got it. Advertising works.
Say that.
So the thing that's happening right now.
No, I need to stop you because that's what you call, that's like a little snuck premise. You're trying to make it.
I like to do snuck premises. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I know you do. And so I'm just going to say, my point was that if they cannot make any more vehicles, then they're advertising to put these people in a backlog and have people waiting over a year for a vehicle. That doesn't.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay, your guys are wrong. Let me ask you this: what the fuck is Germany factory for? Why are they building it? To make cars. They're going to sell
the cars.
Yes, and they're already selling 5,000 vehicles.
They're scaling that to 1 million, just like the Shanghai.
Right.
Way more cars to scale. Giga Texas, hold on. You keep talking. Why don't you listen?
Yeah,
Giga Texas is scaling to another million cars. They're going to have 4 million cars in the next couple of years, basically, being pumped out of the factory. They need to tell people about those 4 million cars.
You're good. Go ahead.
They need to tell people about those 4 million cars. That's what has to happen because Elon understands right now with messing with 250 bucks.
Tesla's backlog right now.
Do I even get to say a fucking point?
Okay, go ahead. Vitaly, you make your point. You make your point, then Carlos, you'll make your point. Go ahead. Vitaly,
the backlog is only happening, and I follow this. Dude, I have, first of all, the shares. I wish they didn't need advertising. I don't need Elon to spend it because then my stock would go up. That's not the problem. The problem is as you make more cars and as you sell more cars to more people, you need to tell them what you're doing. You need to tell them that it costs you $5 to charge this car. Okay. Nobody knows that. It costs $5. When I tell people, it blows their fucking mind. Even if he had that point to tell them.
Hold on.
But hold on. As you go to 4 million cars, from 2 million, he's doing 1.8 to 2 million. As you go to 4 million cars, you have to tell people that I have 4 million cars that are fucking amazing. Okay. Because he's not going to sell those cars if he doesn't tell people that. That's just the way it works.
I've already said it. I believe that they know the numbers better than you, Vitaly. As hard as that's to believe, they know their backlog. Hold on. They know their backlog. They know their production capacity. They know the wait times, and they're not going to advertise to people that either A, can't afford the vehicles, or B, they can't fulfill the order in a reasonable amount of time. That
so why is he doing it?
What? Because if they are ramping production, as they ramp production, if they see that the backlog is shrinking and they feel that advertising will allow them to have a comfortable backlog, they will advertise. But it makes no sense to advertise a product that you can't give to someone for over a year when you could also can't guarantee the price. If you're also in the middle of ramping and supply chain issues, you don't know necessarily what the price is going to be. You could lock yourself into something where you then have to raise the price on the customer because you're promising a price on a vehicle where there's a bunch of macro forces. Right?
You're considering this you're considering this a one-way street, like backlog grows.
No,
I'm considering advertising like Elon needs to get the word out for preparing for the next 2 million cars. Forget about the current backlog. The next 2 million cars. The 10 million he wants to sell.
Advertising is a knob you can turn.
Massive scale. This is what he keeps saying.
Right. So I think the argument,
do that whenever
guys, the argument here, I think at this point is not that we shouldn't do advertising. It's just when should we do the advertising?
Exactly.
Carlos is saying, wait, we haven't hit the penetration point yet where there is not enough demand that you need advertising. So hold off on that shit as much as you can. And then once we get to the point where we're ramped up so much and we can't sell enough cars, we can throw a little bit of spicy.
Hold on. There's a little nuance you're missing, Chris. There's a little nuance you're missing. The reason Carlos gets to say we have enough demand is because of Vitaly's point. They're cutting the margins. Gary Black's point is don't cut the margins, which means it's not going to be at an attractive price for the consumer, but advertise. So there is a trade-off here. If you advertise right now and you don't, because otherwise, why would you cut the margins if you advertise?
Exactly.
Right?
He's messing with 250
bucks.
They're
cutting the margins. They're cutting the margins as a death shot to the other company.
No, I think they're doing it to sell cars. They're doing it to sell at the end of the day, which you can do with that.
They're doing it to sell cars.
Every car that they sell right now in this quarter is a sale that they either steal from an ICE maker from another EV maker. And if he's really betting the company that they're going to be able to upsell and monetize that customer in the future, it makes more sense to get that customer right now. This is what Apple will do, right? They'll sell you a computer, but then they'll upsell you on all of the services. This is a very smart move, especially right now when other automakers are trying to ramp up and are losing money on every vehicle.
Let me give you a counterpoint.
Them to lower their prices and have even worse margins.
Not a bad point. That's not a bad point.
Hold on, I'm going to give you a counterpoint. Remember, the Mac was one of the better computer than PCs. It took that ad campaign that they had, 1984 ad campaign, to really just explode the Mac onto the scene. Very smart of Steve Jobs to do that.
Is that the one? Is that the one they took the hammer and threw it?
No. It was I'm a Mac, I'm a PC, but that's because
that was a great one too. Absolutely,
they weren't selling the amount of Macs that they could have produced, so they needed advertising to boost sales. Tesla does not need to boost sales; they're already at absolute capacity in terms of production. So what I'm saying to you is, what good does it do to spend money now to advertise, get somebody in, and pay the money now in this quarter for a car you can't deliver till 2 quarters down the line when forces could change and change the price?
Not a bad point.
I am not saying that advertising is bad and we shouldn't do it. But what I'm saying is he lowered prices because he wanted to take advantage of the tax credit. And ultimately, Tesla wants to hit that sweet spot of the $30,000, $20,000 vehicle. That's what they want to hit. That's where the Mac, that's where 80% of the market is under $35,000.
I agree.
So he wants to get to that point. So if you lower the prices with the tax incentives, boom, now you're all up. He just
hold on. Did Elon say he's not advertising? I'm losing what Elon actually said.
Let's listen to what Elon said. Let's listen. Let's play a three minutes CNBC clip when he was talking about it. Let's listen to this and we'll get back to it.
He said we'll look into it. I don't think he said anything more than that.
No. He said we're going to give it a shot.
Like most of it you've shared before, but there was some news, and I want to start there. Advertising. You got a big applause. You didn't sound like you were going to advertise that much, but you did at least seem to open the way to saying, okay, we might consider doing some advertising. Why?
Well, I mean, I believe in listening to shareholders, and I actually was surprised by the level of enthusiasm for advertising, since we have not historically done that. But there perhaps is some good logic to it in that.
Okay, Elon agrees. Amazing.
Information via, say, the Tesla Twitter account or my Twitter account, we're somewhat preaching to the converted, and not reaching people that are not already convinced.
This guy's fucking smart.
I think they probably have a good point. I mean, I think it's worth a try, and we'll see. We'll see how effective.
Do you have any idea how you'd like to try it or what that would involve?
Well, I mean, I have some general thoughts about advertising. That if advertising is informative and entertaining, then it can start to approach content. So I think sometimes advertising is perhaps not informative, or perhaps in some cases a bit misleading. And in fact, we've lost some advertisers on Twitter because community notes applies to advertising too. And so if somebody advertises something that isn't that's perhaps a bit inaccurate, then it gets community noted, and then they get mad and stop advertising. But we care enough about the truth that we're willing to give up advertising dollars on Twitter, even if in order to have the least inaccurate source of information.
And I want to talk about that, but I want to obviously.
That is not something he would have done in 2020. So
Agreed.
This victory lap that you're trying to take, like you think you dunked on, it's like it's nonsense.
That's a pretty good victory
He's doing
lap.
it now. He's doing it now because he has 2 new factories that are ramping up. Right, they're now at 5,000 Model Ys a week. Cybertruck is getting ready to launch.
This
right?
is what I was saying. He's ramping up he's getting ready for this, getting us ready to take over the world.
They are not at the point where they are able to make 4 million vehicles, 6 million vehicles a year.
No.
He said guidance. Hold on. Guidance was 1.8 million for this year.
Yep.
That's what the guidance is. So unless he feels that they cannot hit those numbers without advertising or without compressing margins too much, he's not going to advertise because it's only.
So basically, you agree with advertising, just not at this time, Carlos. That's your point.
Yes, it makes sense. It's like are you going to advertise something and get someone excited about something that you can't deliver? Because you also know with advertising, you've got to get people once you get them in the door, you got to get them, right? You've got to get them and you got to deliver.
I agree, but I always said the advertising, just like he pointed out, doesn't have to be about literally converting people to buying Teslas. I've always said that it has to be about informing people what an EV is, why is it better? Like when you tell people it's $5 to fill up your tank, they don't understand it because they never thought about it this way. You just need to inform people about this. And let me ask Chris and Amit. Chris and Amit, if you saw something forget about that, just EVs. It's a Tesla commercial, but it's just pointing out EVs. Hey, it's $5 to fill up your tank. Hey, you don't have to change your brakes for 3 to 5 years.
Dude, every time I'm filling up my wife's car at the
will that work?
No, let me just every time I'm filling up my wife's Lexus at the gas station, I'm asking myself, why the hell don't I have a fucking electric car? Now, here's the thing though. That's because I know the price of filling up a car is only $5 with electricity.
Not that cheap.
So
10.
Well, no, I mean like 5, 10, whatever, but it's such a small amount. So here's the thing. If you put a commercial out there with, let's say hypothetically, a guy is paying $40, $50 for like, and then literally you're seeing like gas prices go up again this month, thanks to Middle East, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy looks like he has to look in his wallet. He's frustrated. And then the next scene is him with an electric car and he never has to worry about that. And it's literally like $5, $10. That will resonate with people and think like every time a person goes to the gas station and they see that fucking price tag, they're going to say, I'm fucking buying an electric car as the next one. That's what I think.
I'm going to do something I probably never thought I would do is quote Alex Cart.
Oh, geez.
And Amit's like, what?
It's 3 against 1.
when he said, when you have a competitive advantage against your opponents, what do? You try to capture as much market share as possible. Any advertising that they do, even if it's say, whatever, 50 million, whatever it is a year, raises the price of the vehicles, or they're going to have to suffer weaker margins, which is not good for the stock overall. They're not trying to spend money on anything but getting the costs down so they can give the vehicles that they already have in backlog to the customers as cheap as possible. Because right now, every customer that they capture right now, when the other EV makers are struggling to gain market share and the OEMs are trying to switch over, they're cannibalizing ICE sales and cannibalizing EV sales. It's a very smart strategic move. At the point once they have the market share, or we start to see, say, Toyota have another quarter bad, Ford have another quarter bad, then I do think we will start to see advertising. It just doesn't make sense. Your goal is to make the thing as cheaper as possible.
Who Powers?
Tim Powers.
Oh, Tim Powers.
Right
Sorry.
there.
Elon literally said in the post interview he lowered prices to bring in demand.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carlos, let's do a commercial, man. The idea that I just said, fuck it, let's make the commercial. Let's make the commercial and put it out in the ether. If someone likes it, if it goes viral, there you go. Like Elon just got free advertising.
Listen, you brought up an amazing point. Trump won the 2016 election predominantly. I think they calculated it was like $2 billion worth of free advertising just by having his name mentioned. $2 billion, right?
Yep.
Right. Like you said, right. And so how many other car makers have as much free? I mean, there are channels dedicated YouTube. How many people are tweeting? How many people are creating commercials? They already do have an advertising department. It's just not in-house.
Carlos, get me a new iPhone, right? And get me like and guarantee me that I'll get a fucking Tesla Model Plaid. And I tell you, that's all you need to do a.
I have
competition.
both.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so two things.
Create the commercial.
Two things. Then we're gonna keep on this
Before we leave, I want to ask Carlos. This is serious.
But before you ask the question, because
no, hold on. CNBC.
The topic. I'm not moving the topic. I'm making two announcements. Number one, StreamYard is in the chat, so that's why I need to establish that so we can get people lined up backstage. Number two, second day in a row, baby. Not 300. We're hitting 400. That's
me and Vitaly got to fight every day. Every day we're gonna fight about something different.
I'll fight until 10,000. 10,000.
I know where you live, bro.
He's got to give you some topic, and you can. First of all, all right. So I think we're officially above.
Just so people don't take this the wrong way. Vitaly and I were in a band for a while, and that's basically like being married. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what it's like.
You fight over songs too. The same thing, man.
Creative people talk, and we're both from Brooklyn. This is how people from Brooklyn talk. I mean, call me wrong. Anyone here from Brooklyn?
It's not actually a fight. This is just how we speak. It's
literally because I love the guy.
I don't hear you, Chris. Yeah, you were muted when you were trying to do.
Hey, yo, Uncle Joey, what are you doing out here, man? Why ain't you buying no Tesla, Uncle Joey? What's wrong with you, man?
Okay, real question.
Okay, now hold on.